Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Yuzio De Leon. I'm a student at Wade Tech Community College. I would like to give you a presentation gathered from the resources crash course a YouTube channel, and Dr. Wally's presentations. She is a professor at Wade Tech Community College, and she studies sociology. And so the presentation that I would like to give you is a presentation that is most interesting to nowadays because of our society. When we think about our society, we think about it like a modern type of society. We don't really see people working as hard as the old times, you could say, because of the industrial revolution. And because of this industrial revolution, we were able to gain an economy called and a post-industrial economy. I apologize. um, because of the industrial revolution, we were able to gain a lot of advantages, which means, for example, people don't really have to work as hard as they used to, or people have the option not to work hard and not to work in factories or construction because we have other jobs that require, for example, computers or social media or other methods that we don't even know of. No, you don't even know how 500s. And it's because of the industrial revolution that we were able to enter a type of modern society, and where we gain a lot of advantages, but also disadvantages as well. We don't really depend on who can produce the most type of materials, but we depend on who can produce the most quality type materials. So we gain a new type of era, a new type of capitalism, I guess. We didn't gain a new type of capitalism, but we gain capitalism, in which companies fight over not who can build the most materials, but who can build the most better and more efficient type of products in our society. And because of this, we were able to gain a lot of advantages. We were able to grow really fast because for each company that's fighting against each other, we are able to be better and better and better and better and better, because we have all these people, all these companies fighting each other, one another, trying to produce better and quality materials and products. And you could say that my country, from Guatemala, for example, is not really to say that we are very different. It is a very different place than the United States. The United States is governed by a very different government from the Guatemala, and I believe that government has to do a lot in what our economy has and what our economy can be. And it's because of the government that we get a lot of different people and we get a lot of different jobs because of how our government works. And what I mean by that is by, like, for example, in my country, Guatemala, it's more of a laissez-faire type of government, which means that the government is really sort of like hands off the people type, and the people can do what they want to. And because of this, it is more of a third world country, and people usually not abide by the rules of the government, but usually by their own rules. For example, because of Guatemala being a third world country, we don't really have, they don't really have a policeman, or we don't have authority to govern over them, because the cities are so widespread out. And these cities aren't even, you can't even call them cities, because they're more of a towns, usually around 500, 600 people, but they're small towns and they're separated by mountains. And because of these rural regions and like third world regions, we can't really get the authority and type of laws to govern them, because they wouldn't really pay attention to them. They wouldn't really want the government to interfere with what their work, because they really have been living in isolation away from the government for such a long time. So it's really not accustomed to them to follow rules or to pay taxes, to say the least. And here we don't really, and here in the United States, we don't really do that way. Of course, there's still people that don't pay taxes, that may not pay taxes, but because of those people not paying taxes, we get punishment. And that's one of the key roles in government. When there is punishment, there's a motivation for people to abide by those laws. And because of our type of government, we earn a coercive power. The government gains coercive power. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but coercive power is the power that's backed up by the threat of force. For example, if you don't abide by the speed limit, then you have the fear of the policeman stopping you and giving you a ticket. If you don't want to pay that ticket, well, then you go to jail, and so that's the threat of power. And people usually don't really want to break the laws because there's the threat of them being punished by the government. And because of that threat of punishment, it builds a really good economy, and it builds a really good system in the United States because of the type of government we have. In Guatemala, there's not policemen, or there's not that fear of not following the laws. So of course, there's not going to be a fear of doing whatever you want, to do. And so I believe that it's a third world country, and that their economy can't progress because of there's little to none government intervention. And that's not the case here. The government regulates everything. It regulates stocks, regulates sometimes businesses, not all businesses. And there's people that don't agree with that. For example, there's liberals, and then there's democrats. Liberals believe that the government should not interfere with the economy and what regulations we have in our system, because they believe that nature should do its course and just let it all by itself, leave it alone. And then there's the democrats, where they believe that democratic, where they believe that government intervention is necessary in order to reach an agreement or a middle ground in every situation, or in the system or economy, to say the least. And our leaders, I guess you could say, our leaders are always going to try to be democratic leaders, because that's how we elect them to be. Democratic leaders are led by trying to reach a consensus. Instead of issuing other orders, they consider all options and then take the appropriate option. And so, because we have democratic leaders, we are trying to always reach the middle ground. And because we're never going to reach the middle ground when it comes to politics, because politics has to take the case of both parties, the democratic and liberal parties. And there's even other parties as well. And that's where politics plays a huge key role in our economy. Because the Democrats have a lot of things that they believe that the economy should be, and the liberals should have a lot of differences as well that what they should be. Pre-industrial and post-industrial, most people believe that pre-industrial was the best time period, because we didn't have all these regulations, the FDA, for example, and other branches of government. And then there was and then there's the democrats, of course, and then there's the liberals who believe that our system is more should be of a free type of economy, where the government does not interfere with it, and the government does not know what they're doing when it comes to finances and to our financial side of finances. And so I guess you could say that government plays a huge key role in everything that we do. And it is because of these governments that we are able to build systems, or because of these governments, the categorizations can occur in our today's society. For example, liberals and democrats or a set of categorization, but it's because of their beliefs and what they believe should be the best for the people. And what we can gain from both of these parties is that they always try to do what's best for the people. They never will believe something that they agree that they think would hurt the people. They always believe in something that should help the people and should protect the freedom. And I guess and then there's also the source of primary groups and secondary groups. Primary groups are usually your small groups of people that you believe are very close to you, for example, family and friends. And it's because of those primary groups that people can categorize them into what they believe in. For example, democratic parties sometimes are not really that they're sometimes raised, and liberals as well. They're raised because of the primary groups that they're in, and then they can also be influenced by the way by secondary groups, which means co-workers or large groups that they have similar interests. In Guatemala, you mostly have primary groups, but it is because of these primary groups that because of these primary groups that they don't really have secondary groups. Excuse me. But it's because of these primary groups that they can't really grow, or they can't really expand their knowledge, because primary groups are always going to have a little bit of people within the group, so their interests are never going to spread out. Their knowledge is never going to be spread out, because there's little to no school in a third world country, and there's little government regulations. And so because there's little interaction with secondary groups, their ideas can't really change, and the ideas usually tend to stick within a primary group, which I believe. And so because of them not because of for example, a town of 500 people, they all have the same belief that the government is not a really good, it's not a good intervention into their lifestyle, then almost all the population is going to be, it's going to be like that. And because of this, I believe that our leaders should be instrumental leaders, which is to give orders and make plans to achieve a goal, which is like the same concept of a democratic leader. So I guess you could say that in my final words, that our post-industrial era has a lot to do with getting the materials out, and that was a good advantage. We produced all the materials that we needed, and we needed it in a fast way. We were able to revolutionize the economy by producing the most material, and producing it in a fast and efficient way. But then came the post-industrial, and that came in a period of people not really having to work and producing all those materials, because we already have a lot of materials, but we need the best and efficient materials. And that way our economy can get better, and that way our society can get better, because of the better and newer materials that we produce due to capitalism. Thank you.